He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got everybody here in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. Open your eyes. Open your eyes.
What happened in Michigan on contest night that caused choices to just poof and the state to flip? What's up, y'all? I'm David. I'm a data analyst and I've been digging into things, and it was alerted to me today that there are live streams of contest night on YouTube from the major networks, and people have been saying that votes disappeared, and here's that happening. At 11:29 p.m. Eastern on contest night, Harris is leading Trump by 13,000 votes in Michigan at 11:29 p.m. At 11:32 p.m., Trump has overtaken it, made it a 2.5 point swing, and Harris lost votes? How? So we go from 36% estimated reported in here to 37 here, but she loses 35,000 votes or so, and he gains 45,000 votes or so. Yeah. So here is all of the, little snippets throughout the entire night. You can see 13, 14%, 15, so-and-so. So here you can see all the way down. She is consistently ahead of him all the way down throughout the night. See here's more. She's got him by 14,000 votes here. Then she jumps up by 90,000 here, 90,000-ish, 80,000-ish, 70,000, 70,000. And she's up by 12,000, up by 25,000, up by 15,000. Then it flips, and now she's down by 75,000. Huh? And you can see from that point on, she's obviously not coming back. But what? What happened?
Today we published our report analyzing Israel's conduct in the Gaza Strip pursuant to the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. The Commission concluded that Israel has committed genocide against the Palestinian people in Gaza.
Becoming an authoritarian police state, that's not going to work for you either. Do you know what a drag it is to actually have to run a police state because half the population is seething and plotting against you, while all the time you know, deep down, that they're right about America becoming something that it never was and never should be? You keep saying the left is more approving of political violence. Well, who do you think that's going to be aimed at? I know it feels exhilarating to make the liberals cry their liberal tears after they made you feel disrespected and looked down on and flown over and called the nutty ones. But come on, I thought you were the tough guys. Get over it.
Please, order in the hall. Please, order in the hall.
After 3.5 years, do you regret at all the lying you've done to the American people? On
All the what?
everything. All the lying, all the dishonesties.
That who has done?
You have done. Tens of thousands.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
How to speak Trump. Number 5. I have to go to the bathroom. Trump translation. I actually don't use the restroom. I have never pooped before in my entire life. Not because I can't or because I'm constipated, but because my body just naturally turns everything I eat into pure gold, and that's part of the reason why I'm so rich. But Bobby told me that the yellow 40 is making Americans constipated, and we want to put a stop to that. That's why we're getting rid of the dyes. A lot of people don't like the dyes. We're getting rid of the dyes. And people are going to be taking glorious dumps. They're going to be taking some of the greatest dumps they've ever taken before. And that's what we're working on. We're going to make Americans go again. That's what we're working on. How to speak.
Director Patel has some excellent qualifications on social media. He has absolutely no background experience or disposition or character to be in charge of the FBI. This is an embarrassment. People throughout my career have asked, excuse me, what is the biggest threat to U.S. national security? What keeps you up at night? And that has vacillated over time. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, drones, cyber warfare. The biggest threat to U.S. national security is having incompetent sycophants in charge of protecting our citizens.
Hatred has no place in the United States of America under President Donald Trump.
I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry.
Hatred has...
If we do not have the ability to criticize, mock, investigate our leaders, then we are no longer the United States of America.
They're out of control. They're saying things, and they're really dumb people. I look at Crockett. I look at some of these people. They're very low IQ people, actually. But the radical left is causing this problem. Not the right, the radical left. And it's going to get worse, and ultimately it's going to go back on them. I mean, bad things happen when they play these games. And
my family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump. But we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either.
the wind doesn't blow. Those big windmills are so pathetic and so bad.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
They were going all green. All green is all bankrupt.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
But global warming, not happening.
Donnie, please.
You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world.
Forget it, Donnie. You're out of your element.
Then they said global warming will kill the world. But then it started getting cooler.
You're like a child who wanders in the middle of a movie.
So now they could just call it.
I want to read more of what you wrote about this for our viewers. You also write this: Americans cannot trust their government. The HHS, FDA, NIH, CDC, and executive branch have collectively jumped the public health shark. And you also write that you've never seen anything like this in your lifetime. Why is this moment different from others?
My lifetime's pretty long, so I've seen a lot of press conferences and a lot of advice, scratched my head through a few on COVID over the years. But this big reveal on autism that was supposed to give us the answer was the saddest display from beginning to end of high-level government advice, lacking in evidence, recycling old myths, offering outright lies, Trump telling personal stories that don't rest on anything. Autism is a huge public health problem, and to present us with, if you will, baseless solution, baseless causation to what's really causing the autism epidemic, just an enormous, inexcusable disappointment. And remember, all the docs that run NIH, FDA, CMS, Oz, all standing behind him, nodding, no disagreement, nothing corrected. that makes me want, you cannot trust what's coming out of there.
We have major breaking legal news. The Trump Justice Department has now indicted former FBI Director James Comey. This is in Virginia by...
We have breaking news at this hour. A federal grand jury has...
What kind of risk or ramifications are there to bring charges if the evidence is weak?
I think it's really important not to normalize this moment. We've had enormous political scandals in this country when we've had presidents or the FBI director direct criminal investigations of their enemies. Now we have a sitting president saying that there should be an indictment of somebody. Their current administration in the Department of Justice is balking, and what has had to happen in order to make that wish come true is getting rid of the person was there, putting in somebody who is new, who does not know the case, who's now been on the case, on the office for a day.
Hello. They don't give you a break between speakers?
No breaks, no breaks.
Interviews.
He called climate change the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, and he said that the scientific consensus on global warming was created by stupid people. What's your reaction to that?
I know Chris is coming up next, and he's got to defend himself, not just Trump. What an abomination. What an embarrassment. What a fraud. And I say that as a guy that lives in one of the most crisis-prone states in America, but a state that's seen lifestyles, places, traditions completely destroyed because of the reality of climate change.
Thank you.
So we have the spectacle of my successor in the Oval Office making broad claims around certain drugs and autism that have been continuously disproved. And the degree to which that undermines public health, the degree to which that can do harm to women who are pregnant, the degree to which that creates anxiety for parents who do have children who are autistic, which, by the way, itself is subject to a spectrum, and a lot of what is being trumpeted as these massive increases actually have to do with a broadening of the criteria across that spectrum so that people can actually get services and help, not to, it's all of that is violence against the truth.
I think I'm about to show you the most disturbing piece of propaganda that I have personally seen since Trump took office for the second term. I'm going to show you a video, and then I'm also going to show you all of the states that have already signed contracts with this company.
Slavery is as old as time, and has taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? Before you judge, you must ask yourself, what did the culture and society of the time treat as no big deal?
So that clip is from Prager University, which is a super conservative nonprofit that aims at educating children with a whole bunch of bullshit that is not true. And Donald Trump's administration has tapped them on the shoulder and asked them to replace PBS. And yeah, that video was Christopher Columbus, and they were insinuating that slavery is no big deal. Completely whitewashing history and also trying to justify slavery. Now, this propaganda is already rolling out. This is not something that is like going to be coming. It's already there. And surprise, surprise, mostly in the states that have the lowest levels of education.
Somebody let me know, what's the issue with Christian nationalism? People are all on the internet talking about, oh, he's a Christian nationalist, da-da-da-da-da. But I'm sitting back and thinking about it. wouldn't that be the best type of government? Wouldn't that be the best type of nation to live under? A nation that lives under Christian values?
Chat, I do believe that we are cooked. I think if you think about this for 2 seconds, I think that you'll arrive at the right answer. You think that being a Christian nation sounds really good to you because you're a fucking Christian. If someone was up here on this internet being like, I don't understand why it would be so bad if we had Sharia law. Like, I think that those are good values by which we can live. You would fucking be like, no, of course not. That doesn't make any, because that's not your religion. One of the cornerstones of this experiment, America, was religious freedom, was the idea that you wouldn't be persecuted for celebrating or practicing your religion. All of your
Trump told his fellow world leaders that America is the hottest country anywhere, and if they don't listen to him, their countries are all going to hell. Needless to say, this did not play well with our friends overseas. This is from France 24 News in Paris, which gave us a quick snapshot of where we stand on the international stage.
As you can imagine, it's a cover story for many international newspapers as well. Let's take a look at British Daily Mirror here that calls the speech, quote, deranged. It summarizes the speech that was 56 minutes long. It talked about climate, migrants, Gaza, but also escalators, marble floors, and teleprompters, and may I add, cows.
Yes, you may, because he...
They're calling Air Force One Panda Express because it's carrying orange chicken.
Hey everybody. The Department of Justice is now hiring January 6 rioters to work there.
Just a reminder that the billionaire elite wants us fighting a culture war, not a class war. Right now, the people in power are trying to start a civil war, and they want us to have a culture war, not a class war. When someone asks, what is a woman? They're trying to start a culture war, and they want to distract you from the fact that 0.1% of this country owns 5 times as much wealth as the bottom 50%. Oh, you're against capitalism, but you have an iPhone. That iPhone wasn't made by capitalism. It was made by labor. And the technology that created that iPhone was from a US government program called DARPA. If someone says, I'm a capitalist, ask them, where are your factories? Do you control world markets and world supply chains? Or you're against capitalism, but you're drinking a latte? That latte was made by a barista that you don't think deserves a living wage. They should just get a better job. Oh, so the person that takes their job shouldn't be able to afford food, housing, or raise a family? But if we tax billionaires less, they'll reinvest that into the economy. False. In 2018, billionaires and corporations received a huge tax cut under Donald Trump. Did they reinvest that money? No. Job growth was stagnant. They stashed the money and corporations bought back their own stock. Stock buybacks is when a corporation buys their own stock. It only benefits the executive class. The working class, on average, spends 110% of their income. So when you invest in the working class through housing initiatives, education, transportation infrastructure, that money goes back into the economy exponentially. It's a multiplier. So once again, the billionaire class is trying to pick your pocket. When they ask, what is a woman? They're trying to pick your pocket. When they talk about school choice, they're trying to pick your pocket. When they scapegoat trans people and immigrants, they're trying to pick your pocket.
The last speech that I will give as president, I think it's fitting to leave one final thought, an observation about a country which I love. It was stated best in a letter I received not long ago. A man wrote me and said, you can go to live in France, but you cannot become a Frenchman. You can go to live in Germany or Turkey or Japan, but you cannot become a German, a Turk, or Japanese. But anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American. Other countries may seek to compete with us, but in one vital area, as a beacon of freedom and opportunity that draws the people of the world, no country on earth comes close. This, I believe, is one of the most important sources of America's greatness.
It was one of those rare occasions in Washington where politics gives way to tradition.
We may have our differences politically, but the presidency transcends those differences.
The 5-time governor of Arkansas, the first man from that state to become the president. He's also the first man in his party since Franklin Roosevelt to win a second term in the White House. And I could tell you more of the story, but it's coming out in fine bookstores all over America.
I think every family who has ever lived here has become more and more a part of our country's history just for the privilege of sleeping under this roof at night. And so perhaps the most important thing I can say to President and Mrs. Bush today is welcome home. We're glad to have you back.
Seriously, though, we've heard a lot about extremism recently, a nastier, harsher atmosphere everywhere, more abuse and bother boy behavior, less friendliness and tolerance and respect for opponents. All right, but what we never hear about extremism is its advantages. Well, the biggest advantage of extremism is that it makes you feel good because it provides you with enemies. Let me explain. The great thing about having enemies is that you can pretend that all the badness in the whole world is in your enemies and all the goodness in the whole world is in you. Attractive, isn't it? So, if you have a lot of anger and resentment in you anyway, and you therefore enjoy abusing people, then you can pretend that you're only doing it because these enemies of yours are such very bad persons. And that if it wasn't for them, you'd actually be good-natured and courteous and rational all the time. So, if you want to feel good, become an extremist. Okay, now you have a choice. If you join the hard left, they'll give you their list of authorized enemies. Almost all kinds of authority, especially the police, the city, Americans, judges, multinational corporations, public schools, furriers, newspaper owners.
I have been waiting for something else to talk to you about, and I found it. And I think you're going to want to stay with me for like 90 seconds because it's better than thinking about the other stuff. One of the things I do best is to take seemingly unrelated headlines from seemingly unrelated sources and mash them together so you can see from a different altitude the bigger picture. So let's do that with two stories. First, we just got a terrible inflation reading. Consumer price index rose 2.9%, which is the highest reading since January. Want to guess which two items were at the top of the list of rising prices? Roasted coffee with a 21.7% price increase just since last year. Just underneath that, steak at 16.6% in 1 year. This is not a coincidence, because do you know who provides most of our imported coffee and beef? It's Brazil. We import 1 billion pounds of coffee from Brazil each year and about 800 million pounds of beef, or at least we normally do. But Trump chose to slap a 50% tariff on both of those items on August 1st, which made importing cost prohibitive for millions of small businesses, forcing huge price increases to the consumer. Because it doesn't matter if you're buying those items from Brazil or if you're buying them from somewhere locally. When supply goes down, price goes up. But that's only one headline. So what's the other one? Those who have been paying attention know that the 50% tariff on Brazil was not economic. It was not because Trump was trying to score a better trade deal or lower prices for consumers. Because Trump was trying to force the Brazilian Supreme Court to drop charges against his friend Jair Bolsonaro. Because Bolsonaro, stop me if this sounds familiar, was on trial for trying to overthrow an election and for attacking government buildings. Of course, Trump saw himself in Bolsonaro's image, and so he tried to use the cost of our coffee and steak to get his buddy out of prison. But you may not have seen, while the United States was distracted over the last day and a half with routine tragedies, Brazil stepped up and convicted Bolsonaro anyway. A 4-1 ruling by their Supreme Court is going to send Bolsonaro, who is 70 years old, to prison for 27 years, which I think is great news. In fact, I think I'm going to celebrate with a nice cup of coffee and a Brazilian skirt steak.
Hey everybody, Mary Kay Andrews here. Welcome to another What the Actual Fuck Wednesday. Sunday night, I posted a reel of myself dancing in my kitchen to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and at least 3 people commented that they were livid at my violent t-shirt, which said 8647. One woman claimed it meant I wanted Trump killed. Another worried it might get me canceled, whatever that means. And of course, there were the MAGA types excoriating me for spreading hate. Let me be very clear about something. 86 does not mean kill. It means delete or remove. I'm a 71-year-old grandma. I don't want anyone killed or murdered. And for years, I have publicly advocated for common sense gun laws. I don't want Donald Trump killed. I do want him to serve prison time for the 34 felonies that he's been convicted of. I want him impeached for lying to Congress, for enriching himself at taxpayers' expense. I want him to be forced to pay the over $90 million with interest that he owes E. Jean Carroll for defamation and sexual assault. Mostly, I want there to be some consequences for the real and lasting damage he and his MAGA cohort have caused our country on a global stage.
Now, this is about justice. He lied a lot, but this was a very important thing. He could have said, well, maybe, or I don't remember. He didn't say that. He gave a very specific answer, and then he verified it numerous times, and he got caught. The problem that Comey has is he got caught lying, and he was very strong. It's not like, well, maybe, or I don't remember. He gave a very specific answer because it was a very powerful.
My name is Captain Dylan Blaha, and this message is for all U.S. military service members, especially every general and admiral meeting with Pete Hegseth on Tuesday. I'm a 13-year U.S. Army veteran who served in Afghanistan and wrote war plans while stationed at U.S. Army Europe. This morning, Donald Trump directed Pete Hegseth to deploy the U.S. military to Portland, Oregon. This is the latest illegal attempt to normalize the use of the military in U.S. cities. He authorized the military to use, quote, full force. This is authoritarianism. This is fascism. The U.S. military is not a law enforcement force, and all federalized service members must abide by the Posse Comitatus Act. All members of the United States military must disobey illegal orders. I was just following orders is not a valid defense against war crimes. Grow a...
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least and I'm...
Where do you align politically?
I'm a conservative.
Is there a difference between a MAGA Republican and a conservative?
I believe that there is a difference between extreme politics and a political belief. The term MAGA has taken on a negative connotation. It denotes to people that hear it extremism.
You're kind of saying the difference is people's perception of it and not how they actually act.
Most Republicans are conservatives who have a belief that America should come first. When it comes to jobs, where our tax dollars go, we should take care of our own, we should take care of our homeless, and we should take care of our, the people that are in need in the country. And I think that's what MAGA means to me.
It sounds so good.
America first.
It sounds, why doesn't it feel like that? Because it sounds so good.
The media has linked it to extremism. And so when everybody hears that, they're thinking, the guy out there doing bad things, and most conservatives look negatively towards extremism the same way I do.
And I'm Peter Thiel, and I want to steal an election. I don't need to screw with ballot boxes. I just need to brainwash everyone through social media content. And I'm at the headquarters of Palantir to explain how we did it ourselves. Step 1 is steal your data. One of my employees will go secretly work for Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica becomes the company that does our bidding. They build a fake personality quiz app that integrates into your Facebook. So seemingly overnight, we had the data of tens of millions of Facebook profiles. Step 2 is turn ad tech into a weapon. Cambridge Analytica mapped your likes, your political leanings, even your fears, and plugged it all into a targeted platform that could probably predict who you are, what you're about, and who you might vote for. Then we started executing targeted campaigns. Cambridge Analytica paid Facebook for 5,000 targeted campaigns like this. So these polarizing ads got over 1 billion impressions. And this matters because in swing states, even a small 10,000 votes can really matter and change the outcome of an election. Step 3 is creating swing households. With IP matching, I now got Cambridge Analytica to target your specific household. I let the media cover swing states, when in reality, there's actually swing households. I know which household leans to which side politically, so I know what type of polarizing ads to show you if I want to change your mind over time. Step 4.
As a guy who did my entire PhD on the neurobiology of autism, I want to share some thoughts on this whole Tylenol thing. And just since the internet is full of liars, here's my information. I'm actually a neuroscientist. First things first, let's just acknowledge that there's already data showing that Tylenol is not linked to autism. This study had almost 2.5 million children and found no evidence that Tylenol use during pregnancy was associated with autism. But let's just imagine that there's some validity to what the White House is saying and that a new study says there is a link. What we need to recognize is that one of the known established risk factors for autism is maternal immune activation, aka pregnant women getting sick. So if a study finds a correlation between the use of Tylenol during pregnancy and the risk of autism, we need to be considering which pregnant women are using Tylenol. Those who are sick and fighting fevers. There's a confounding variable built in, so we can't tell if it's the Tylenol or if it's the fact that they were sick. Now, if we assume it's Tylenol, and so pregnant women are told,
don't take it.
That means we are advising pregnant women to expose their child to a known autism risk factor just to avoid exposing them to a potential autism risk factor, which obviously does not make sense. On top
17 years in the military, at the Department of Defense as a civilian, at NASA, and now at Homeland Security, I have never been asked to lie. I've never been asked to perpetuate a lie, which is the same as lying.
During our interview,
I'm so sorry.
some unexpected visitors dropped by.
We can't speak with you.
Why are you guys here?
I can't speak with you about that.
They identified themselves as agents from the Department of Homeland Security Inspector General's office.
I'll talk to you. Okay, great. When can we talk? As soon as I contact my lawyer. Okay.
Were you surprised to see them?
Completely shocked, unexpected. This is intimidation. And this is why people won't come out and speak against the government. To actually prepare and stand out in front of the public and perpetuate something that you know is absolutely false is not okay. And no.
In my conversations directly with President Trump and Secretary Noem, I have been abundantly clear with them that Portland and the state of Oregon believe in the rule of law, and we can manage our own local public safety needs. There is no insurrection, there is no threat to national security, and there is no need for military troops in our major city. Military service members should be dedicated to real emergencies. The members of the Oregon National Guard, their mission is to stand up and protect Oregonians, and they will do that every day, but they are not needed in the city. They are not needed here. And you can tell because you're here with me in Portland. You can see that this city is safe and calm, and it is a beautiful day to be here.
Look, we're public servants. We're stewards of the community. Nobody is above the law. The American taxpayer always gets the short end of the stick, and Congress seems to profit at their expense. This body has been enriching itself on the taxpayer's dime, and dadgummit, it's got to stop. And I'm proud of all these people up here. I don't agree with them, some of these people, on anything. If Cortez told me the sun was coming up tomorrow, I'd go out and check it out. But she's my buddy, and I'm proud to stand up on the stage with that. And now I will introduce my friend Cortez to come up and speak. Thanks, Cortez.
Good. Thank you, Tim. It's very rare, I feel, in Washington that when we bring multiple stakeholders and folks together to negotiate on a bill, that you leave that room feeling like the bill got better. But I genuinely feel in this process that in putting all of our bills together, we've actually ended up with a product that is legitimately stronger than the sum of its parts. And it is one of those rare moments where I feel like Washington is working the way that it's supposed to work. But I also...
There's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. We need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit.
What the fuck did he just say? Jesus Christ. So fucking dumb. Oh look, it's Kash Patel. Which way you looking there? Yeah, okay. Idiots. I'm Carolyn Levitt. What the fuck? Oh look, another distraction, idiots. If I hear we are the hottest country one more fucking time. How about release the fucking files? I am Tulsi Gabbard. Fuck off. Shut the fuck up.
Mana mana. Mana mana. Mana mana.
And when we go there, if we go to Portland, we're going to wipe them out. They're going to be gone, and they're going to be gone fast. They won't even stand the fight. They will not stay there. They've ruined that city. I have people that used to live in Portland. They've left. Most of them have left. But what they've done to that place is it's like living in hell.
Doesn't illegality go both ways?
Professor Poutine here. Time for Mysteries Histories. As you're all fully aware, ICE raids are ramping up all across the United States, and people, undocumented migrants, are being arrested on farms, hotels, restaurants, rounded up by the thousands and disappeared into vans and then into the camps. And the argument justifying this is that, well, they're here illegally. They're illegals. So they get what's coming to them. Fair enough. But correct me if I'm wrong, is it not also illegal to hire undocumented people, not pay them above board, but instead pay them cash because it's cheaper for you, not give them a W-2, account for any of those expenses, and pay any of those expenses on your income taxes? Yet I don't see any restaurant owners or hotel owners being dragged out in handcuffs and thrown into the backs of vans. I don't see any farmers being shot with pepper balls and arrested and zip-tied. Odd. Oh.
We have major news right now. Donald Trump has confirmed that today's meeting with military leaders is akin to a loyalty test to him as President of the United States of America. He left the...
All right, Christina, we're going to try to simplify this. You see, this is a graph. The blue bars represent the prevalence or how frequently mental health disorders happen in the countries labeled below. Mental health disorders such as depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia. And this data is pulled from WHO and also Our World in Data. The red bars represent firearm deaths in those same countries. What you'll probably notice is that mental health prevalence is pretty similar across all these developed countries. But what you'll probably notice is that giant red bar that represents the United States firearm deaths. That's because it's over 40 times bigger than the next following country. So let me be clear. Mental health problems and prevalence exist all over the world, developed and underdeveloped countries. But no other developed country has the rate of firearm injuries and deaths the United States has. This is a uniquely American problem due to our uniquely American gun laws. People have mental illness all over the world. What they don't have all over the world is access to guns. It's
You can already tell that this narrative is about how we're all about the wealthy.
We can save health care for millions of Americans if we stripped out tax giveaways for individuals making more than $10 million. Yes or no?
No. No's appear to have it. No's do have it.
We can help parents be able to take their kids to the doctor. We can keep seniors in their nursing homes. If we stripped out tax giveaways for individuals making more than $100 million a year.
Nay.
No. You should really see this back to school commercial that's running in the US right now.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
So it was just brought to my attention in an urgent briefing that the Super Bowl, which is of course a very sacred tradition in our country, probably the most watched thing on TV, except for when I speak, of course. But I was just informed that in one of the most offensive and radical left and anti-Christian, also, don't forget that, moments in our country, the halftime show of our next Super Bowl will be done by Bad, I can't believe I'm saying this, Bad Bunny. Okay? Now, what I've been told, we have intel briefings. This is a person from the Mexican city of Puerto Rico. Okay? And already I have a problem with that. Okay?
Who's going to bear the brunt of the responsibility if indeed there is a shutdown of our government?
Well, if you say who gets fired, it always has to be the top. I mean, problems start from the top, and they have to get solved from the top, and the president's the leader, and he's got to get everybody in a room, and he's got to lead. You know, the interesting thing is in 25 years and 50 years and 100 years from now, when the government is, you know, they talk about the government shutdown, they're going to be talking about the president of the United States. Who was the president at that time? Mm-hmm. They're not going to be talking who the head of the House was, the head of the Senate, who's...
So Donald Trump just said the quiet part out loud on national TV while arguing with Chuck Schumer from the Senate, where he said the unbelievable on live TV, basically declaring that he is absolutely a dictator and he will use the military to get his way. You literally cannot make this stuff up. Check this out.
One thing I think we can agree on is we shouldn't shut down the government over a dispute. And you want to shut it down. You keep talking about it.
The last time, Chuck, you shut it down.
No.
And then you opened it up very quickly. And
20 times.
I don't want to do what you did.
20 times Chuck, you have called for, I will shut down the government if I don't get my will. None of us have said.
You want to know something?
You've said it.
Okay, you want to put that on my...
You've said it.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay.
And there you have it, folks.
That's who Donald Trump is. I've known him for 25 years. I'm never going to say we were best friends, but he is the most unethical, lacks character, dishonest person I've ever done business with or worked with.
If he says it, then I'll go with it. And if he wants to be a dictator, then so be it.
I'd rather have Donald Trump as a dictator for 4 years. Absolutely. This country needs a dictator. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
He could stand on the front steps of the White House and commit murder, and I'm with him.
If he says it, then I'll go with it.
Our history is filled with military heroes who took on all enemies, foreign and domestic. You know that phrase very well. That's what the oath says, foreign and domestic. Well, we also have domestic. George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Grover Cleveland, George Bush, and others all used the armed forces to keep domestic order and peace. Many of our leaders used the military to keep peace. Now they like to say, oh, you're not allowed to use the military. Our history is filled with military.
Move out and draw fire. Because we are the War Department. Godspeed.
Room! Attention!
We have some major breaking news right now. The dam is starting to break. The first Republican member of Congress on Capitol Hill is now calling on Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, to resign.
To paraphrase Jeff Foxworthy, if you're watching this video, you just may be a terrorist. Professor Poutine here, time for Mysteries Histories. Stick with me on this, folks, because this impacts every single one of you watching this video, and you aren't going to like how. As many of you are aware, Donald Trump, a few weeks back, designated Antifa a terrorist organization, which doesn't make any sense. It's not an organization. They don't have a CEO or a board of directors. You can't call the Antifa hotline because you didn't get your secret decoder ring and membership badge. It's an organizing principle. It's an idea. Many of your grandparents were Antifa when they stormed the beaches on D-Day. Well, this has caused some real problem for law enforcement. Who are they actually supposed to be targeting? So Donald Trump followed up with another executive order. This is the one that impacts every single one of you. This executive order was signed on the 25th of September, and it's called Countering Domestic Terrorism and Organized Political Violence. And what this does is it designates exactly who the federal government can now target as terrorists. And before I tell you how this applies to you, this executive order also authorizes the Justice Department to use any other governmental agencies, including the NSA, FBI, whoever they want, to investigate, track down, arrest anybody who might be involved in any of the terroristic activities that are listed in this particular executive order. Well, what would those terroristic activities actually be? You may be a terrorist if you are engaged in anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, supporting the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, race, and gender, or hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality.
An entire fuck.
It's hard to keep up with President Trump. Here are 12 things that he did this week which you may have missed. Number 1, he rebranded the entire Pentagon as the Department of War. Number 2, he moved the United States Space Command headquarters from Colorado to Alabama and openly admitted it was punishment for Colorado's mail-in voting. Trump said Colorado has, quote, automatically crooked elections, end quote. So I guess they don't deserve a military command center. Number 3, survived his own death rumors. Hashtag Trump dead was trending with posts claiming he had passed away after he had been radio silent for days. He's still alive. Number 4, he appealed his tariff loss to the Supreme Court after a federal court struck down most of these global tariffs. Trump said that a wrong decision from SCOTUS could mean devastation for our country. Number 5, he reacted to a batch of Jeffrey Epstein documents that House Republicans released, over 33,000 pages, although most of them were already public. He then posted that it's time to, quote, end the Democrat Epstein hoax, end quote, even after survivors spoke out. Number 6, he threatened to send National Guard troops to Chicago. Illinois governor called it an invasion and said he would refuse to cooperate with the Trump administration. Number 7, he faced backlash as Republican senators challenged RFK Jr. after his CDC chaos, and at a hearing, some lawmakers who confirmed Kennedy are now saying he broke his promises. Number 8, won a federal court battle to terminate $16 billion in President Joe Biden climate grants. It's the biggest environmental rollback yet. Number 9, announced plans for the most restrictive voting requirements ever. Mandatory voter ID for every vote with basically no mail-in ballots. Number 10, dissolved thousands more federal worker unions right before Labor Day, using national security to strip union rights from NASA, the Weather Service, and patent office workers. Number 11, he sued Boston Mayor Michelle Wu and the police commissioner over Boston's established law limiting police cooperation with federal immigration officials. Number 12, he presided over a disastrous job report, only 22,000 jobs added in August, with unemployment hitting 4.3%. That's the highest since 2021. And this came after Trump fired the Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner, claiming the last data was rigged. And this was just this week, people. The man renamed the Pentagon, moved to Space Command out of spite, and survived his own death rumors. What do you...
The Republican Party just shut down the entire federal government because they don't want working class Americans to have health care and they want billionaires to have more money. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the truth. They don't give a fuck about y'all. Do y'all get that yet? Like, they don't give a flying fuck about you. And they sure as shit don't give a fuck about you having health insurance. So, like, they already, with the big ugly budget bill, cut billions from Medicaid and millions from Medicare. Now, with the continuing resolution that they put forth to try to keep the government open, because I don't know how it's going to stay open with the way that they keep, like, attacking and dismantling the workforce anyway, but whatever. With the continuing resolution they put forth, it would actually get rid of a bunch of Affordable Care Act subsidies. So even if you get a private health insurance plan through the ACA marketplace, you wouldn't have that option either. Because they want to cut that too. They want to attack that and dismantle that too. And even if you have an employer-sponsored health insurance plan, your rates will go up. Your access will go down. Because this affects the health insurance and healthcare economy as a whole. That's why hospitals are closing and nursing homes are closing. So I don't care if you got money in your pocket or not for it. If you don't have a hospital to go to or a nursing home to go to, where are you going to go? Are y'all getting...
You should make an apology to us. Because you didn't congratulate us on the peace deal that President Trump made between Albania and Azerbaijan.
I'm sorry for that.
Yeah. So, and you worked very hard.
The public knows that Donald Trump
and Republicans have shut the federal government down, and that they're continuing to engage in the chaos and the cruelty and the corruption that we've seen from this administration from day one of the presidency. Again, this is the first week of their shutdown, but we've had months of chaos and cruelty unleashed on the American people. And the American people are paying close attention. And they know that it was Donald Trump and Republicans who have shut the government down. They
I think there's two things that are happening at once, and this is something that's very important for people to understand. One, there absolutely is an unprecedented abuse of power, destruction of norms, erosion of our government and our democracy in order to prop up an authoritarian style of governance. That is happening. However, they are weaker than they look. And it is important that we remember that, because what they rely on is the impression of power, the perception of inevitability, in us giving up in advance to say, oh, what's going to happen if I stand up, etc. Nothing's going to happen. They rely on that perception of inevitability and power so that people comply in advance and acquiesce in advance and give up in advance. And at the end of the day, Donald Trump is at record levels of unpopularity in his tenure. The Republican House is at record levels of unpopularity. They are underwater across the board, and they know it. And that is causing them to double down in public, but it is backfiring. That is why, whether it's a shutdown, whether it's all of this, they want us to blink first. And we have too much to save. Protecting people is too important a task for us to give up before anything even starts. I think
America, the propaganda machine over at Fox will tell you that Antifa is the danger to this nation, but the facts prove otherwise. Violence from any side of the political spectrum is completely unacceptable, but since 1990, about 94% of all politically motivated violence convictions have come from the right. And nearly 87% of all political murders in that same time frame also from the right. The numbers don't lie. These are easily verifiable facts, and the pyramids speak for themselves. But the Fox propaganda does lie. Night after night after night. They take a handful of incidents from the left and loop them in endlessly to build an illusion that America is under attack from radicals.
I want to hear your response to the way the president has talked about some of his constituents. He has said that if the shutdown comes, shortly before the shutdown, he said that he could do things that are very bad for them, meaning Democrats. He also spoke before 800 or so senior military officers and talked about an enemy within. Speaking as someone who represents a state that voted for Trump, how do you think about that rhetoric?
Oh, it's incredibly concerning. It is not presidential, and I think it's un-American. You know, America loves our military, our armed services. We are home of the free because of the brave. And one of the reasons that we have such confidence in our military is that it is professional and not political. And
the last thing I want to talk to you about is, because I'm about ready to do my commentary on it, but do you think Bad Bunny is a good choice for the Super Bowl?
I'm not that knowledgeable about him, but it seems fine, and I don't know why it's a big deal. Seems like a great American artist, so sure.
He's not an American artist, but
he's Puerto Rican. That's part of America, dear.
The words that Donald Trump used today, enemy from within, that's Hitler-esque. That is right out of Nazi Germany. That is not constitutional speech. That is not the speech that we stand for in this country, where we believe in the rule of law. And the way that he talks about cities, that cities are full of his enemies. Why? Because they voted for Democrats. They voted blue. And so they have become his enemies. And that he wants to use the military in our cities. The military is designed, and our mission is to, excuse me for saying our, 36 years, I still.
You're entitled to own it.
But the military is to protect our nation. The military is not to police our nation.
That was a threat. Oh, there goes your career. That was a threat.
And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future.
The silence of those officers. The silence of those officers. The absolute contempt in the room was a message Hegseth got.
Because we are the War Department. Godspeed.
Room, attention.
I know he was thinking, God damn it, one of you fucking clap. Just one of you clap for me. Come on, man. They didn't. And he walked off stage, destroyed. And when Trump went through the whole thing again, all the madness, all the attacks on his fellow citizens, all the ideas that he wants to attack the homeland, they didn't applaud. They made a choice. The elephant in the room is that Donald Trump wants to attack Americans using the U.S. military.
There's breaking news out this morning, and it is so much bigger than you might think at first glance, because it implicates an amendment that you probably don't even remember. We all know the First Amendment. We all know the Second Amendment. You probably know the Fifth Amendment, but without looking it up, do you know the Fourth Amendment? You should, because it's about to get a whole lot more important, because a federal judge just banned the Trump administration from making immigration arrests without probable cause, because doing so violates the Fourth Amendment, which is your right against search and seizure without probable cause. This amendment, combined with the Equal Protection Clause in the 14th Amendment, combined to make racial profiling illegal. What's really important to understand in this case, though, is that the judge did not order a universal injunction, which is something they would have done probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. Instead, the ruling applies only to 7 counties around Los Angeles. Weeks ago, I would have considered this a bad thing, but it's because of a video I watched from Amanda's Mild Takes, a channel you absolutely should watch, by the way, that I understand why this actually could play out for the best. In that video, she pointed out that when the United States Supreme Court limited universal injunctions, they made it so that instead of having one case to rule them all, courts will now have hundreds or maybe thousands of individual cases against the Department of Justice. But here's the thing. The Department of Justice has to defend them all. Instead of winning one case, they have to win hundreds of cases. And because the DOJ is currently a joke, they will not be able to do so adequately. And all of this friction clogging up the gears of Trump's DOJ means that instead of being able to move quickly and decisively in his mass deportations, he's going to be clogged up in courts across the country, potentially for years, which gives innocent people and those who want to defend them more time to build the same kind of class action lawsuit that just shut down his birthright citizenship executive order.
So a friend of mine just texted me and said, hey, you might want to call the White House comment line. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so I'm going to do that right now with you on the phone. I'm going to do that with you right now.
Thank you for calling the White House comment line. Hello, America. This is White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Democrats in Congress have shut down the federal government because they care more about funding health care for illegal immigrants than they care about serving you, the American people. Until Democrats vote for the clean, Republican-backed continuing resolution to reopen the government, the White House is unable to answer your call or respond to your questions.
We have major news right now in the ruling where a Trump-appointed judge blocked the administration's ability to send the National Guard into Portland, Oregon. She sent a stark warning to the rest of the country. She said that Donald Trump's essentially determination is not, quote, tethered to the facts. And she went one step further. If she allowed the deployment of the National Guard on the streets against American citizens in Portland, Oregon, it would move the country closer to a martial law type state, where essentially the United States military is being deployed as a personal police force for the President of the United States.
Oh my God, they know. And they know they can't stop it. I've known this was coming for 10 years, but until now I didn't realize there was a name for it. It's the thing that makes us say, is it just me or are there more crazies than ever before? The Trump spike in racism, sexism, and hate, it's the emotional foundation for the entire Make America Great Again movement. That nostalgia for when life in America was simpler and paler. But as soon as we began addressing it, boom, extinction burst. This term is why I love science so much. You can take an idea from one field, like psychology, for example, and apply it to another field, like political science, and the principles still apply. Extinction burst is actually really simple. It's when you have a behavior and a reward, and you withdraw the reward in order to change the behavior. When you do that, usually to change an undesirable behavior, the behavior itself increases in frequency and intensity for a short period of time, until ultimately the subject changes the behavior, and then that behavior goes extinct. This is like you're at the store and you're swiping your credit card and it doesn't work, and so then you swipe your credit card like 15 more times until you're so angry you're freaking out and you're about to scream an F-bomb in the middle of Toys R Us, and then you say, I'll just pay with cash. The swiping is the behavior and the payment is the reward. So when the swiping doesn't work and you don't get the reward you need, you get madder and madder and you try it more and more until you change the behavior, which then results in the extinction of the original behavior. Now, extinction burst at the national level is much slower, but in this case, we actually know very clearly what triggered it. It was Obama's election in 2008. Sarah Palin, the Tea Party movement, the birther movement, and ultimately MAGA. It is a 10-year tsunami of rage in the face of inevitable extinction.
It's been recently reported, David, that the President of the United States, who's been in office well over 100 days now, has only received the presidential daily briefing, the most important, highly classified daily intelligence briefing, some 12 times, some 12 days of his 100 plus days in office. What is he doing if he's not reading the PDB?
America, they're lying to you, and the proof is in that one yellow cup. That's right, Fox. Propaganda. Mike Johnson, the entire right-wing propaganda machine, shut down the government over this one plastic cup. Not a program, not a national crisis, a cup. Because when you can't lead, you distract. This entire pyramid right here on the bottom is the entire Medicaid budget. And the yellow cup at the bottom is the only time, potentially, that an undocumented immigrant may get health care or care. And it's in an emergency. It's the mathematical equivalent of 0.004 of the budget. But Mike Johnson will make you think like it's the end of civilization. And that is not governing, that is gaslighting. Propaganda 101, you take a teaspoon of truth and you turn it into a tidal wave of fear. Straight out of the playbook of Karl Rove, but without the subtlety. And
the word I kept hearing from them was embarrassment, because if you look at that picture and you listen or have viewed what happened yesterday in Quantico, you saw myriad numbers of Silver Star awards. You saw myriad Purple Hearts, Bronze Stars, Combat Infantry badges, and they were being lectured on how to do push-ups and lose weight and shave, and it was truly mortifying. But the larger question is, going forward, what happens to the military with this internal dissension that you can seemingly feel when you witness an event like yesterday?
When you look at those faces, it's what I predicted when I was on the show the other day, and that you're going to get poker faces and a stoicism that was reflective of professionalism. But truthfully, those individuals will leave that room or left that room yesterday, and they'll start discussing and analyzing how they can implement some of the lawful orders that they got. Okay, great. We can buck up the standards. We can take a look at the kinds of things to get some soldiers, not all, certainly not even the majority, back in better shape. Take a look at what our ranks look like. But there were also soldiers and all ranks of services in that audience that said, wait a minute, when they were writing down the same kind of checklist that I was writing down, saying, wait a minute, we can't do that, or we shouldn't do that, or this is a true violation of what we are as professionals, or hey, I've got women in my ranks who are performing admirably. Why should I kind of lump them all together like the secretary did? Or I'm certainly now going to debate with myself, what am I going to say if I'm asked to go on the street and conduct illegal actions? And I guarantee you that the people in that audience will not execute illegal orders. We've been saying that for a long time. This was
Yo, our president got 5 kids by 3 different baby mamas, live in government housing, and got warrants, and y'all got the nerve to call us ghetto.
You can hear this thing burning.
Here's a non-exhaustive list of things the Trump administration is choosing to just no longer study because collecting that data would not fit their ideology. Food insecurity. For 30 years, the USDA has tracked how many households don't always have enough to eat. In 2023, that was 13.5% of households in the United States. They just canceled that long-term survey, so we won't have that information anymore. Probably because they just cut nearly $200 billion from SNAP, which is the program that directly reduces food insecurity. Number 2, gun violence. The House 2026 Appropriations Report currently eliminates every program even remotely related to gun violence prevention from the CDC's budget. It zeroes out the CDC's line for firearm injury and mortality prevention research, eliminates the injury control research centers that often house firearm injury teams, and wipes out the National Violent Death Reporting System, which is the backbone data system that helps states track shootings and suicides.
It's Trump without Trump. You won't have to listen to his voice or see his face. This quote is unedited and 100% accurate. This is from his speech before the senior military officers on September 30th, 2025. These are the words of the President of the United States of America. The auto pen. I call him the auto pen. It's, how would you like to have your things signed by an auto pen? You know, when I have a general that I have to sign for a general, because we have beautiful paper, the gorgeous paper, I said, throw a little more gold on it. They deserve it. I want the A paper, not the D paper. We used to sign a piece of garbage. I said, this man is going to be a general, right? Yet, I don't want to use this. I want to use this big, beautiful, firm paper. I want to use this real gold writing. When you talk about the position and they're beautiful but how would you like it to have that with you? Some kid sitting in the back office is having it signed with an auto pen. I thought about it, and I thought about you people first. Admirals, generals. I said, somebody works his whole life. He gets into maybe the academies or wherever, but however you got there and you go through years of work and now you become an admiral or a general or whatever. And when you do, the President of the United States signs your commission, as you know, and that commission is beautifully displayed.